1-800-488-7959.
AM 560, The Answer. It's time for the Playmaker Spotlight with Executive Coach and Vistage Chair, Dick Smith.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Playmaker Spotlight, the part of Get Down to Business, where we speak to CEOs and business owners and share their stories and best practices with you. Playmakers is brought to you in part by Vistage, the world's largest CEO advisory board organization. And I am your host, Dick Smith. I'm the CEO's business coach and award-winning chair for Vistage International. And tonight I'm very happy to have as our guest Ferdinand Dimailig, principal of Box Studios, headquartered here in Chicago. So from their website, let me read this. Box Studios is a full-service architectural, interior design, and real estate planning firm based in Chicago who transforms spaces into dynamic and efficient environments. They deliver designs that encompass the latest technologies, and they provide leadership and exceptional return on your investment. The Box Studios' ideal client would be optimistic about the future, in search of innovation, and willing to spend time and resources looking for the right answers as it relates to creating a dynamic and different and efficient environment. So to get the best picture of what Box Studio does, I would invite you to go to their website, www.bxstudios.com. Lose the O, bxstudios.com. So tonight, again, pleased to have Ferdinand Dimailig, or Ferd as he refers to himself, principal of Box Studios. Welcome to Playmakers.
Dick, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for being with us. And so give us a little brief history of Box Studios. How did it come to be? When did you get started with the firm?
Yeah, well, typically in our business, you hit the, some of these downturns in the economy. So in 2001, survived a couple of layoffs there. So with that said, broke off, started my own. I had a client that I was able to do was working with on the side, which then turned into my full-time job. Ended up joining with a colleague, Dan Crace, and we've been in business for about 15 years.
Yeah, so never again will I let somebody fire me. I'll have to fire myself first. Right? Dynamo entrepreneur since then, right?
You got it. You got it.
So, number of employees that you have, and what geographic areas does you serve, and where are your offices?
Yeah, we have about 20 in Chicago. We have another office out in Denver, and there's about 12 there. I would say in the Chicago market, we're about 80% of our clients are there. And then outside of that, whether it's in the suburbs or nationally, internationally, we service our clients in that manner.
Okay, and tell us a little bit more about your services and who do you work with? How do you do design services? What don't you do? What do you do?
Well, we're pretty vast in what we do. Architectural and interior design. We design spaces, whether they be for tenants or building management organizations. Could be a vast. So really differentiate ourselves by really not focusing on one type of project. Yeah. We do anything from corporate design, which is probably our biggest percentage, but we work in healthcare. We do fitness, wellness, space building, architecture, government, kind of the whole gamut. And the reason for that is really to capture the downfall and be able to survive during those times.
So you're mostly interior, not necessarily the exterior design?
We are also involved in that, Dick.
A little bit?
Yeah, we are. We are involved with the architecture as well, but I would just say probably more currently, it's been mostly interiors.
Right. Again, as I said early on to the listeners, go to their website. My goodness, some of the contemporary designs are like creative, just creative genius as far as I'm concerned. You work for some very hip companies, Groupon and...
Yes, Groupon, Lightbank. Yeah. We Ignite. We do have some really creative companies that we work with. And I think that's why people look at us. I think they want to, let's say, hence, think outside the box. They want to approach things differently. We're hoping we're giving that different eye on how things happen.
So are there any unique experience areas or special services that you provide that you think your competitors don't? What gives you the edge up?
I do just say more recently we formed a collaboration with a New York organization. That company is ABC Design, and they focus on branding. So we're now trying to integrate the whole design process, not only the architectural portion, but inclusive of branding the environments as well with logos and colors and images, things of that nature. Yeah.
So, hey, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Get Down to Business Playmaker Spotlight, brought to you again in part by Vistage International, the world's largest CEO and business owner, private advisory board organization. And we're talking to Ferdinand Dimailig, principal of Box Studios. So, Ferd, what does your typical customer look like? Your typical pro? What's a good customer for you to work with?
The one that's wants to think outside and wants to approach things differently, wants to examine how efficient they are. Somebody who wants to explore other answers and not continue doing the same thing they've done. Looking to get better. So we like working with those guys that have vision and really want to move outside of the norm, I say. The more traditional working environment.
Yeah, I visited with you at your office, and I was impressed with the environment there and a very young group of people. I consider anybody under 40 young.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I think we're purposeful in that, we feel that a lot of the new ideas are coming out of the young guys. And we really like to explore those opportunities. So people who haven't been in the industry aren't stuck in the same old thought. We're very open for that.
Great. And how much do you feel the environment has to do with the success of newer companies, especially those trying to attract the millennials and the younger generation?
I think it has a big effect to that. I think those guys that are looking to work in an environment that you're spending a lot of time at, they want to make it comfortable, and you can see the trends moving into almost a residential environment. That's really important because I think it helps people stick around a little bit longer, work and feel comfortable in their environment. So, that's very important.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, you hear a lot about this virtual working or working out of homes. Is that moving? Is that shifting? I'm hearing that even companies like, Google or somebody that's starting to bring employees back to the work environment because they feel the need for that.
Yeah, and I think, Dick, that's coming on the collaboration portion of it. I think what they're seeing is that if you're working independently, you don't get to experience a sense of community or collaborative ideas that might happen, whether it's appropriate or it's kind of natural. So I think what Google's trying to do is say, hey, let's make that environment comfortable, and people will stay there, and then they can learn off of the experience that people casually or formally are developing.
And so they're blending the lifestyle of these younger people with their work environment, providing cafeterias, even in some cases free lunch and food, areas where they can actually go take a nap and think. And some of these people are working long hours, especially younger ones. Right?
Yeah, I'd say more recently, we've ran into a couple, being in the Midwest, I'm more conservative. So, to have a sleep environment or a resting environment, let's call it, is very unique to more of the Midwest.
And a number of recreational tables, pool and ping pong and that kind of stuff to release stress.
Absolutely.
That's part of the...
Absolutely. Creating an environment that's just, different from what you'd say a typical conference or a meeting area would look like. Thematic areas that would create some more, I would guess, more dynamic or creative thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're one of the leaders, I think, in architectural and interior design in particular that I've run into. So what role is change continuing to play in your industry?
That's a great question.
How are you managing change?
That's a great question, Dick. I think the big thing is, technology is always changing. Things just seem to get really small. So, just keeping up with that, and whether it's finding out the new technologies ahead of time, understanding how that's going to make not only your personal life better, but your work life better, and really trying to think that through and integrate and understand how people are going to be working. So we always trying to think be forward, think ahead, and look at technology to help guide us and kind of feel what the environment might be 3 to 5 years from now.
And are you finding that the large commercial real estate owners, the people that own these buildings that are being put up, are they listening to this new?
Yeah, absolutely. There's what we call these spec suites that are being developed by the building management organizations, and these spec suites are estimating or guessing what clients will come and take into the space. And so the big deal there is that time seems to be moving faster. So clients want to get in faster. So they're definitely planning to capture those tenants.
So real quick, we're almost out of time, but where do you see your company in 3 to 5 years from now? Can you see that far out, or things changing?
You know what? Absolutely. I think what we're trying to do is definitely expand. I think we want to capture ourselves during the downturn, so expose ourselves to other opportunities, whether they be national or international. So that's kind of our vision.
Gotcha. Well, I'm afraid we're just about out of time, but I've really enjoyed talking to Ferdinand Dimailig. He's principal of Box Studios here in Chicago, and thanks again for being with us today, Ferd. You have a wonderful success story, and you and your partners epitomize the American entrepreneurial spirit. Keep it up.
Thank you very much, Dick. Thanks for having me.
Now our audience can find more about you again at your website, bxstudios.com. Okay,
Thank
for
you.
those of you looking for a job in interior design, you may want to look him up. And for customers interested, you can speak to Ferd. Hey, thanks again, Ferd. I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in again. This has been the Playmaker Spotlight with your host, Dick Smith, a CEO business coach and award-winning chair for Vistage International. You can find me on LinkedIn or email me at dick.smith@vistage.com. Now, stay tuned for more of Get Down to Business.
You saw him? Moderator.